Okay, here we are for the next car in our road test series, the iconic Ferrari Testarossa. Testarossa, red head. You'll see in the engine bay shortly, the cam covers on these are red. Going back to the early race cars, they all had red cylinder heads, so that's where the Testarossa name came from. Very much a car of the 80s, hugely identifiable. The size of the back end of these, they're huge. When you follow them, there's such a road presence. Came out in the mid-80s. There's about 400 or so of these in right-hand drive, so you don't see one very often. Then they went on, it changed through. We went on to the 512 TR. They were a little bit rare. There's just over 100 of those with or without ABS. And then the last cars, they are quite rare. They're the 512Ms, which had the plexiglass headlights and the round rear lights at the back. There's only about 40, I think it's 41 of those, so they're very rare in right-hand drive. It's another feature of the 80s, and Ferraris have sort of stuck with this, right up 355s, 348, pop-up headlights. How cool's that? It's great. There's something about things that move and pop-up headlights. Again, they carried them right through to the 355s, the 456s. It's brilliant, so really cool. Something that Ferrari design have incorporated for many years. So what are these things like to actually use and live with? Like we say on all our cars, they do need to be driven. They do need to have some usage. Now, these aren't bad. You've got quite a large, all the engines in the back, so you've got some space up the front. So this one's got a car cover in, batteries and that are housed here. So you've got a bit of luggage space. Now, the stuff you don't see very often is these things. We all love the Schedoni luggage. We've all seen it on eBay. We'd all love to have it with our cars. Ferrari still do it today. I think it was a brilliant collaboration between the Schedoni family and Ferrari. When he got his 308 back in the day, he didn't have leather, didn't have any luggage. So being a leather manufacturer, he said to Enzo Ferrari, right, I'm going to make some luggage for you for my car. Would you like to use it in other models? So they do this beautiful soft leather. It's all the same colour. It's this sort of orangey colour. Beautifully made luggage, which he tailor-made to each car. So they all get embossed with the Ferrari horse. This one's got, as you can see, the Testarossa embossed on it. And they're all tailor-made that they fit either behind the seats or in the boot areas, in the right area, in the right place. It's beautiful stuff. It is ferociously expensive. You'd never put it through Gatwick or go on holiday with it or even use it. It is become a bit of a sort of concourse type ornament, but it's a lovely thing to have. But yes, it is thousands of pounds, so you don't see many cars with the Schedoni luggage in now. I was fortunate enough to meet the Schedoni family when I went to the factory. They're lovely, lovely people, and they're still doing all the luggage today for all the current models. So it's a fabulous place to go, but it's beautifully, beautifully made, and you'd certainly never actually use it or ever put it on a conveyor belt. But it's a really nice touch to have with a car. Other things that the Testarossa people will know about, the mirrors are the obvious things. On the early cars, it had a single mirror halfway up the A-post. They were called Monodado cars, single mirror. It looked a bit odd, but when you're inside the car, it was actually at eye level, so you could sort of see out of it. It just looked a bit weird from the outside. They also had the centre bolt-on wheels, like the 288s and things. Then they turned to the normal 5-spoke bolt-on wheels, and they brought the mirrors down to the normal triangles in line with all other cars. I think it was an aesthetic thing, so it didn't look so odd. So you've got the single mirrors or the twin mirrors, knock-on wheels or bolt-on wheels are the main differences. So, very much back in the 80s. This is the 5-litre flat 12 or horizontally opposed 12 for those who are interested. Now, Boxer engine evolved from the 365 Boxer and the 512 Boxer that were on carburetors and late injection. So this was the next evolution of that design. Bosch fuel injection system that carried on from the 328, same cars of the era. The Marelli electronic ignition system. So we've now well and truly moved away from points and what have you, and carburetors. This is the first evolution that we're on fuel injection and electronic ignition now. Fairly basic, but it worked. In about 86, 87, they upgraded the clutch, so you had a bigger clutch, twin plate clutch, to take the horsepower, because these are about 390 horsepower. So there's a lot of horsepower and torque going through basically a single plate boxer clutch, so they changed that. The other thing they did, as we went through the 80s into the 90s, the technology with the electronic ignition evolved. So we had the K-ejector system, and then we went to KE, which was half electronic and half mechanical. So it evolved, so the cars evolved with it. We ended up in 1992 with the 512, which was the sort of last incarnation of these. And they got it up to about 420 horsepower, then 420, 430. So there had been a natural progression. Quite hard to set up these, bearing in mind they're sort of 30 years old now. Getting both sides to balance. Basically, you've got two 6-cylinder engines here with two manifolds one side, a metering head. So you've got two injection systems, one for each side. So getting the whole lot set up and balanced is a bit tricky. These are one of the harder ones to set up. But when you get it right, they are nice and smooth. Some people experience a lot of hunting and surging when they're cold, basically due to setup, or they do suffer with the injectors now. With the injectors, rather than giving a nice fine mist, they tend to squirt like water pistols, which doesn't help. So no, it's just servicing the cars and staying on top of them. So let's fire it up and get out in it. Sometimes you get a handful of immobilisers and what have you in the 80s. This one's fine, we just twist and go. So, as I said before, getting these to fire up and idle nicely is hard. So this one's sitting there beautifully, 1,000 revs. Lovely old Blaupaunt 80s radio out there. That's really nice and period. But again, everyone was pinching them, so Ferrari covered it up. So gearbox wise, we've got a 5-speed gearbox, dogleg first. Now these do suffer with, you need to get them warm. They can be a big agriculture when they're cold. It takes some warming up, these things, so just get it out of the car park. No power steering on this, so when you're manoeuvring these slowly, you know you're doing it. But once you're moving, they're all right. So you're not going to get second gear in a Testarossa from cold. We've tried different oils and bits and pieces to try and make them better, but they are quite agricultural, these ones. Once they're up and running, they're okay. Just pulling it out onto the road here. Just cheese it into first to third is normal on these, it's just the way it works. Something that's quite nice on these, you get nice orange dials. On the earlier cars, some of the dash illumination was a bit questionable. You went out at night and you couldn't actually see what the gauges were doing. Whereas now we're getting a bit more sophisticated. We've got gauges that work and gauges that you can actually see. It's got pretty good rear view vision out the back of one of these. It's not like Countach's and things like that. You can see a lot. In the mirrors, when you look in the mirrors, you're quite aware that all you can see is rear wing. And it's deceptive. It's almost like you feel like you're driving a piece of cheese that's narrow at the front, because when you look at the mirrors, all you've got is these massive rear wings. And it is a bit of an illusion, because the newer cars, the sort of 812s and 458s and things, are actually wider than these, because we can tell when they don't fit in the trailer. So the newer stuff, F12s and things, are a lot wider than these. But these just look so wide from the back, it's a bit of an illusion. The gearbox has just started to warm up a little bit. The biggest thing you notice on these is the torque. I mean, 400 horsepower today isn't enormous, but the torque, it's like being pulled on a piece of elastic. These third gear in a Testarossa, it is just like a piece of elastic, and it keeps going and going and going. Whilst they're quite large, in their time these were quick cars. Lovely bit of torque. These were sort of 170, 180 mile an hour cars back in the day, and I have known owners do that. I've had one owner years ago that was complaining that the windows are being sucked out at 160 mile an hour. Because they worked out how to make the cars go fast, but they couldn't quite work out how to make the doors seal at that sort of speed back in the day. again, by today's standards, quite heavy to drive, but you know, that's what it's all about. The newer ones are very easy. These ones you have to work a bit, but they're rewarding. You just squeeze it and suddenly, whoa, off we go. It's just a nice place to be. You've got that lovely induction noise. Just fill the front lift up. Effortlessly just eats up miles, one of these. So we're very fortunate to have the bypass that you can go a little bit faster, but going down the slow roads we're just looking for bumps and knocks and rattles. And the drivability, I always say if a car drives well low down, it's going to be fine when you open the taps usually. If you can get the low speed running right, like we are now, we're jogging along at sort of 30 mile an hour if that, in third gear. And it's not jerking or kangarooing, it's pulling really nicely. Go over some speed bumps and see if there's any creaks or knocks. Yes, they are quite big, they're quite heavy to drive, but no, these things are over 30 years old and they still deliver. You wind them up, these are impressive cars, they'll still surprise you. And they look cool. Everyone does a double take. When you're out in a Testarossa, it is so iconic with the width of it, the slats down the side. You don't see many of them on the road now, really. They're quite collectible. So when you do, people's faces, when you do see them, they're like, crikey, you know. Everyone remembers Miami Vice of a certain era. It's not every day you're going to see a Ferrari Testarossa on the road, so you usually get lots of thumbs up.